Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, there's no time to talk about my feelings or emotions or any thrilling things that may be happening in my life, Tony, because there's something even more exciting than all of that, Tony. And that is transfer news, the most exciting kind of news at all.
Yeah, even with the transfer portal window closed, and it's like, well, now we're done for the now. Now we just get to get through spring and wait till it opens back up in May, but not so fast because there's still transferring going on. And the big news here is that Ole Miss cornerback Davison Igbinosun is transferring to Ohio State, a freshman All-American. Tom, guy 6'2", 185. Is that pretty good size for a corner?
That seems pretty darn good for a corner. That seems like you're not going to be able to have the 6'4" guys just go up over you like a lot of 5'10" corners do. Seems like that is a body type that is kind of tough to find for a corner, to have someone who's that tall but also has the fluid enough hips and good enough speed and all that to really truly be able to play the corner spot. So if you can add someone who can do that, and as a freshman All-American, there certainly is a lot of indication that he is on his way to being able to do that. If he can't do it already, that's a pretty good addition to a room that already is not in desperate, dire straits by any means.
Yeah, and we can get into the room here in a sec. He started the first 9 games of the season for Ole Miss, then did not start the final 3, but then was in the starting lineup again for the bowl game against Texas Tech. And so he's a guy that won't be in for the spring, but already has plenty of experience. Last season, finished with 37 tackles, 21 solos, 16 assists, 5 passes broken up. Originally a New Jersey kid. And going from New Jersey to Ole Miss does not sound like a normal path of movement for really anybody, but he's one of the rare ones to have done it. He was ranked the number 21 cornerback in the 2022 class. Tom, he was 3 spots ahead of Ohio State's Jair Brown. And we saw we liked what we saw out of Jair Brown. I know a lot of people down there in Oxford liked what they saw out of Igbinosun this year.
And, you mentioned where he's from in New Jersey. He was the number 1 player in the class, in the 2022 class from New Jersey. He was committed to Rutgers at one point, decommitted, and then ended up going to Ole Miss. And boy, you spend 4 years in Oxford, Mississippi after living in Union, New Jersey, which is essentially straight west of Newark Airport. So it's more or less directly across from Lower Manhattan, just sort of if you walked across the Hudson River and kept walking for about 10 miles or so, you'd end up in Union, New Jersey. So you've got to figure he's got a pretty good northern New Jersey / New York accent. You spent 4 years in Oxford, Mississippi. That's going to develop a nightmarish hybrid of Deep South and New York that I don't think anyone needs that. So probably good for him in terms of his accent to be getting out of Ole Miss. His stated reason for transferring after the season last year, you're a freshman All-American, you figure you're off to a pretty good start, so why would you want to leave? Ole Miss is changing their defensive coaching staff. Former Alabama defensive coordinator Pete Golding taking over there. And, his stated reason for leaving was basically, defensive coaching staff uncertainty. These aren't the guys I came here to play for. And so, you move on and, a little closer to home and probably a little bit higher of a ceiling in terms of what the program might be able to do in the next 2 years, going from Ole Miss to Ohio State. So, this is definitely one of those things where this is not a particularly difficult, difficult sell. Like, why would you want to leave Ole Miss and come to Ohio State? This is sort of what the transfer portal has become. If you have a freshman season that sort of indicates like you might be too good for the program you're at right now, or your individual level might be a little higher than the program level on the whole, that's the kind of guy who transfers up. Alabama has gotten guys like this. Now Ohio State's getting one.
Yeah, and Michigan was involved. It doesn't look like they made the best pitch there, I guess, because they did not win out. So a number of teams shooting for him did not land him, and now he's, I think, another reason why it was Ohio State is the opportunity to play for a national championship, to contend for a national championship. We know, Tom, that this is a defense that needs help, needs to be improved based on what it was in 2022. This guy now, you come into a cornerback room where there's one proven corner, and now you essentially have two proven corners. And I know everybody's high on Jordan Hancock, and we liked what we saw from Jair Brown last year. But now you've got two guys with starting experience. That doesn't necessarily mean Davison Igbinosun is going to be a starting corner at Ohio State. What it means is they now have options, and they can go 3 deep. They can go 4 deep out of want to, as opposed to last year when they did it out of need to. Like, they had to go that deep because of injuries. Now they have more options. They have more answers. And I think the competition also ramps up because Jordan Hancock doesn't want to come off the bench. And Jair Brown got a taste of action last year. He's not going to want to come off the bench. So these are all guys that are going to be vying for a starting spot. And they don't care if they have to put Denzel Burke on the bench to get it. Like, doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to sit on the bench. I'm going to do everything I can to get on the field. And that's going to make everybody better. As we said, he won't be here until the spring, but this immediately raises the level of competition, of talent, of experience in the secondary for the Buckeyes.
It also feels like it's probably a necessary addition too, where number one, if you have a spate of injuries like you did last year, you're going to get down to your third, fourth, fifth corner in terms of starting. And the second piece of that is you've already lost J.K. Johnson to the transfer portal. You've already lost your entire 2021 cornerback class to the transfer portal. That was Legend Cavazos and Ryan Watts. Those guys are both gone. So you've had and even going back further than that, the end of the Taver Johnson era was not a great time for Ohio State cornerback recruiting. So that's those are guys who would maybe be fifth, sixth year guys. Those guys aren't there, and now you've got all these young corners who are all of a sudden going to be draft eligible corners this year. All of a sudden, Denzel Burke is not the brand new guy. He's not the little true freshman who's starting. He's a draft eligible player after this season. Jordan Hancock is a draft eligible player after this season. This is probably as much, it's going to be important for this year in terms of depth and in terms of rotation and in terms of, hey, if someone gets hurt, you've got another quality starting player coming off the bench, whoever that is, whether that's Hancock or Jair Brown or Igbinosun or anyone else. But it's also about if Denzel Burke goes pro after this year, if Jordan Hancock goes pro after this year, if somebody transfers, you have another quality veteran player in there to fill that spot, because you have seen Ohio State, you have seen lots of teams where that is a hard place to fake it. You can't just throw whoever out there, because offensive coordinators, quarterbacks, they're pretty smart. They have how often do you see the new guy come in and immediately get targeted because the not in the penalty targeted way, but immediately get picked on by the opposing offensive coordinator, because they can set you up. They can set up matchups. And so you have to have game ready veteran depth there. This is something that helps Ohio State there now, and it helps Ohio State there in 2024 and beyond. Yeah,
and Ohio State had 3 corners committed in the 2023 class. They ended up signing 2, losing Kyan Lee on signing day. And so now you have basically replaced him with a freshman SEC starter. You lose Kyan Lee to the SEC. You go replace him with an established SEC starter and Davison Igbinosun. So I think that feels like a pretty good answer, because obviously they wanted 3. Now they've got 3, and you've got them for at least 2 years. And I think that's also a win in itself. Anytime you can get a transfer that's going to be around more than 1 year, that's generally a pretty good thing. And Ohio State has done that a couple of times now in the portal. So good pickup for them. We'll obviously talk more about it moving forward and seeing how the Buckeyes do in spring ball at corner when action gets underway here in just a little bit over a month. But Tom, anything else about Igbinosun that you want to throw out there?
I think I said the wrong year before. I have developed an absolute brain tick for not being able to identify recruiting classes correctly. Ryan Watts and Legend Cavazos were the 2020 class. I think I said 2021, but they were the 2020 class. But either way, neither of them are here. J.K. Johnson from that 2021 class, not here. So Yeah, there are holes to fill, and this is, I think, a very important addition to kind of patch over what could have been a little bit of a concerning area.
Yeah, and again, definitely an intriguing cornerback prospect at 6'2". Everybody loves those tall corners that can run, and the Buckeyes got one of them now. So that will do it. Our instant reaction emergency podcast with the transfer of Ole Miss cornerback, freshman All-American Davison Igbinosun to Ohio State. Good job, Buckeyes. You did it. And maybe some NIL involved here. We didn't even discuss that. That's always going to be something, but I think it wasn't necessarily the only thing in this one. And I don't know that it will always be the only thing for a lot of guys. But so they got him, and I'm thinking they might be done until after the spring. Maybe.
At least in the corner position.
Perhaps. But they're done for today. So good get by the Buckeyes. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys later.